Hi, Paul Arnold here, sometimes a stuttering professor, and today I want to talk to you about stakeholder management. Now, why is stakeholder management so important? You know what, at the end of the day, every one of us is merely a project manager, and all we're doing is we're trying to get a project on budget, on time, on brief, with a little amount of problems as possible. And in my experience, people who manage stakeholders are much more successful at getting their projects away with less hassle than people who don't manage stakeholders, who just create major problems. So it's in everyone's interest to manage our stakeholders. And I want to share with you experience I've got from 30 years in this field, from also my background as a psychologist, and also understanding a lot about organizational psychology, about how this goes about. So the very first thing is we've got to identify exactly who they are. And the funny thing about it is often you don't know all the people who they are. They sort of come out of the woodwork. You know, you think you've got everyone signed off, and then someone on the board you didn't realize has got a personal interest, and they suddenly come forward and they start to influence and affect what's going on. So we've got to be really clear who they are. And the other thing about it is actually we've got to try to reduce the number who they are, because the less there are, the easier it is to manage a project. And very often there are people on that project team who are there because they've got to be there, or because of their position, their seniority, and they don't really want to be there. So the more we can actually upfront manage them off the project, say, look, let's move you out of here, let's you focus your time in another place, is a better thing to do. And obviously they're called a stakeholder for a reason, because they've got a stake in it. And one of the things we've got to really understand is what is the stake they've got in it. Because the more we can understand exactly what's important for them, the more we can structure what we share with them, how we influence them, and how we involve them at the right time and the right place. So actually we must be doing a lot of work up front before we even start getting involved on the project. And one of the things I always advise people to do when I'm running workshops about this is to map out who they are. And I want you to map them out in two different ways. I want you to map out their degree of influence. And that's not to do with the number of pips they've got, you know, on their sleeve. It's to do with who listens to them. How much is their voice influencing others? And actually we need to therefore prioritize upon who's highly influential, who's less influential. But then on the other scale, are they for the project? Are they against the project? Or are they just sitting in the middle? And obviously what we want to do is to make sure anyone who's highly influential moves over towards the right and becomes sort of supportive of it. And what we want to do is make sure that if there's anyone who's highly influential, who's against it, to really spend time with them, understanding what the concerns and fears are, and trying the best we can to allay their concerns and to develop working with them to help make them become more supportive. Then one of the other things I want to encourage people to do is to develop a manifesto up front. And I want it on that to be the clear purpose of the project. What his ambition is. What are his key metrics? What are the milestones? What's in scope and critically what's out of scope, and who is on the racing? Who's responsible, who's accountable, who's to be consulted, who's to be informed? And then critically, we get it signed off by everyone. So what happens is later on in the project, you can go back and say, look, Jack, you signed it. This was what you agreed to. And frankly, if the scope does change afterwards, that's fine. You just amend it. But there's a piece of paper that everyone knows exactly what it's about. Now, one of the critical things is that, you know, is the involvement of these people. And my experience is you're better to involve them in short little bursts rather than waiting for the big sort of 3-month review meeting, because actually that's not a very good time, particularly if you do it with everyone at the same time, because we then get people posturing and things like that. So I always think that corridor conversation is a really, really powerful place to actually keep people informed. And I developed what I call the SIP. And that's when you bump into them, and you may have to create opportunities to bump into them, you start saying, oh, hi Jack, I just want to give you a quick update on the project. The situation is this. The issue we're currently facing are these. And my proposal about how we're going to resolve them is like that. Very quick, very short, very sharp. And then actually, the more you do little and often is a much better way of doing it. And obviously you've got to influence. And the primary way you influence is through all your EQ skills. The people I saw the most successful at stakeholder management are people with high EQ. And it's his ability to develop a rapport with people. You know, I saw some fabulous successful people who are able to actually talk to people at the very top of the organization because they were allowed to. They just did it over a cup of coffee and said, oh, John, could I have a quick word with you? And actually, the more that we can get through to the very top people, the more likely we can influence. And actually, a lot of the stuff we've got to do, we've got to be really good listeners. We have got to really go and spend time to understand where they are on something. And this is where coffee is the amazing thing. Because all we need to do is let's say, John, can I have a quick cup of coffee with you? I just want to understand where you are on this project and, you know, what's your concerns? We can do a lot of that stuff. And to use that great Stephen Covey quote, seek first to understand before being understood. Make sure that you are really respectful of where they are and get them on board. And one of the key ways that you influence is you use all that classic stuff inside an organization. Say, look, you know, here's our values that we've set as an organization. Here's our vision. Here's our dashboard. You know, all those are very powerful spaces that you can actually make sure that you keep people supporting it and pushing it all the way through. And actually, the other thing I would suggest you do as a final thing is manage emotions. So you've got to manage the emotions and the story of the project as it goes through, because it starts off all very positive, everyone's very happy, very excited, and you get a few wins and that's great, and then it goes into that period where it's just hard and it's sticky and you're walking through treacle and people begin to doubt it, you know, and they start to like lose faith in it, and you've got to be the key storyteller to keep reminding people why this is so important, and you've got to keep supporting them and helping them to come through that period so you can come through the other side and do it like that. And you've got to make sure the meaning that people are putting upon this project is positive. As soon as you get people back-mouthing, oh, you know, that project's off track and things like that, that doesn't really help. And you've got to make sure you manage all of that stuff and keep telling people why this is on track, why it's working. Anyway, I hope that's of use. If I can be of help, then by all means, please contact me. I run workshops on this stuff, and my details are at the end of this video. Anyway, good luck with all your projects. Take care. Bye.